And unfortunately, civilian casualties in Gaza are made there, are there because Hamas has adopted a deliberate policy of endangering Gaza's civilians, using them as human shields. Just now, there's breaking news out of a Reuters correspondent. A third UNRWA school, that's a school by the United Nations group that's supposed to give humanitarian support to Palestinians, a third UNRWA school was discovered now with weapons being stored, missiles, Hamas rockets.
And Mark, I agree with you, that's horrific.
Not an aberration,
that's horrific.
A systematic pattern of behavior by Hamas.
That's horrific. I agree with you.
Civilian infrastructure.
But Mark, just recently, the IDF attacked the home of a family in Gaza.
Well, in the meantime, hospitals in Gaza have not been spared from the Israeli aggression. The humanitarian aid NGO Doctors Without Borders has strongly condemned Israel's Monday attacks on Gaza's Shifa hospital. And the executive director of another major medical center in Gaza, the Wafa Hospital, tells Press TV that medical supplies are running out in the besieged territory and that the existing hospitals, well, they can't accommodate the rising number of casualties.
Al Wafa Hospital on the 23rd, it was destroyed completely. All the complex of 3 buildings was destroyed. So the Israelis did deprive the Palestinians from having medical rehabilitations after their injuries. The Shifa Hospital yesterday was also targeted, but there was building minor damages. The over 6,000 injured people in Gaza, more than 30% of them, they need medical rehabilitation. Right now, there is no place for them to go, but to go to their home. And even their home are not there anymore. And the hospital needs to release these patients so it can accommodate the new injured ones.
The Abu Jameh family, the Israeli human rights group B'Tselem says the target was likely Ahmad Suleiman Samud, a member of Hamas's military wing. He was killed in the operation. He was targeted. He was killed. And guess what? So were 25 members of this family, including 18 children. So you say you're not targeting civilians, you're targeting bad guys, you're targeting Hamas militants, but civilians are being killed.
Let's be clear here, and let's look at the real options that exist in the real world. As you said, and you agreed with me, Hamas is shooting out of civilian infrastructure, out of homes, out of urban neighborhoods, out of mosques, out of schools. Their rockets are raining down on Israel. I think we've had some 2,600 rockets on Israeli cities over the last 3 weeks. Now, what are our options as Israel? Is to say, no, we can't shoot back. We can't shoot back because we might inadvertently hit a civilian. Of course, we'll make a maximum.
So these people injured, they will be a burden on their family because they're moving from one place to another. So I have heard many of them that they left the injured one at home because they cannot carry them. They cannot give them the medications. Many of them died in their homes or buried over the rebels. And by the action of the Israeli destroying Al Wafa Hospital, they have created a new segment in the society that is handicapped, unable to get the proper medical rehabilitation to live a normal life. We are unable to deal with the many injured and killed people in Gaza. Our freezer is full. We have to rent a truck that is used to transport vegetables and milk to market. So we are using them as a freezer for the dead people and the martyrs.
Effort to avoid hitting civilians. They're not our targets. Our targets are the Hamas terrorists trying to kill us.
I don't think anyone is suggesting that you shouldn't fire. I don't think that anyone is suggesting you shouldn't fire back, Mark. I think the question is what Israel's doing, A, is it commensurate with the attacks coming at Israel? And B, is it actually going to be good for Israel in the long run? And I think there are a lot of serious questions about that, especially these people, 1.8 million of them, living in what has been described as an open-air prison. Now they're not going to have power for another year or so because the only power plant in Gaza was bombed, probably by Israel, last night. I think the question is this the best course?
No one knows that.
The medical system in Gaza in need of medications, life-saving medications. Right now, it is scarce and blockade from the Egyptian side, from the Israeli side. We are unable to get any medications.
The United Nations Children's Fund says that at least about 240 children have been killed in more than 3 weeks of Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip. According to UNICEF, 157 boys and 82 girls, aged between 3 months and 17 years old, had been killed as of Tuesday morning. The victims include at least 166 children aged 12 years or younger. The UN agency said it could not immediately verify reports that 10 more children were killed later on Tuesday.
No one knows that. No one knows who hit the power plant, and we've actually done our own investigation, and we don't know that it was Israel at all. It could have been, 10% of Hamas munitions fired at Israel, 4 short, and they hit in Gaza. We know for a fact that's what happened yesterday at the hospital. The Shifa hospital was hit by an outgoing Hamas rocket that malfunctioned, and that could be the case today. We don't know. But to blame it on Israel automatically is, I think, incorrect. But can I answer a larger question that you raised?
Please do.
Look, Israel has to strike back against those who are shooting at us those rockets. Now, on one hand, you can't give the terrorists immunity. You can't allow them to shoot because of the possibility of collateral damage. On the other hand, you have to be as surgical as is humanly possible in a very, very difficult combat situation. Think of it this way. If terrorists had found a winning strategy, that by shooting out of civilian neighborhoods, they had got immunity, what does that mean for terrorists around the world? They've found the winning way to win the war against the democracies. They have found by using civilians as human shields, they can target innocent civilians with impunity. Is that good for America? Is that good for Canada? Is that good for any democracy? If terrorists finally found that winning combination, the only way to fight them is to be as pinpointed as is possible in a difficult situation. And once again, I say it again, Hamas is unequivocally responsible for this tragedy, first of all, by rejecting the ceasefires, which would have ended it in the first place, and secondly, by adopting tactics that deliberately endanger Gaza's civilians and deliberately leads to their deaths.
We're about to lose the satellite. Mark Regev, spokesman for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, thanks for coming on and answering my questions.